Hello and welcome to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, your host for this program that's all about the world of sports in Vermont and beyond. I'm on set with producer Nathaniel Wilson.
Hello, world.
And camera operator David Littlefield, and we're joined by our awesome team in the control room, Brian Stevenson, Kyle Ambusk, Mike Dunn, Dave Rice, and Joey Palumbo. And we want to hear from those of you watching live on YouTube. Let us know in the chat which Olympic events you've been following. And for those of you listening via radio or podcast, we encourage you check out our live stream each Monday at 2 p.m. on the Sports Report YouTube channel. Today on the program, we'll feature interviews with Olympians Mac Forehand and Ben Ogden. Ogden fresh off his men's sprint silver medal. And then Vermont Green FC co-founder Patrick Infurna joins the show to explain the club's new ticket lottery system. And we'll look ahead to next month's U.S. Open Cup match as well. If you want to hear more about what's happening in Vermont sports, you're in the right place. And it's time for another Winter Olympics edition of the High Five. It's a segment where we count down 5 of the most important stories in Vermont sports from the last week. Oh yeah, we got a high five. And we're going to start with number 5. Mac Forehand is going to be in the final for free ski big air. Yesterday, Forehand combined a switch left triple cork with a left nose butter triple cork. Kids, don't try this at home. It was good for 183 points, the highest combined score in qualifiers, and the final starts tomorrow at 1:30 p.m.
At number 4, Paula Moltzen and Jackie Wiles took bronze in the women's alpine team combined last week. Moltzen is a former national champion with the University of Vermont, and Michaela Schifrin and downhill gold medalist Breezy Johnson finished 4th in the event.
Coming in at number 3, Ryan Cochran-Siegel took home his second straight Olympic Super G silver medal, finishing just 1.13 seconds behind gold medalist Franjo van Almen. Cochran-Siegel's latest medal comes 54 years to the day after his mom, Barbara, won gold in women's slalom at the 1972 Sapporo Games.
And at number 2, Jessie Diggins got a bronze medal in the women's 10,000-kilometer skate. It's the first time a U.S. woman has medaled in that event, and Diggins skied tough, fighting through bruised ribs, and this medal is the 4th in her illustrious career.
And taking home the number 1 spot this week, Ben Ogden won the silver medal in the men's classic sprint. Ogden's medal is the first in cross-country won by an American man since Bill Koch, also a Vermonter, did it in 1976 in Innsbruck, Austria. We were lucky enough to secure a few minutes with Ben last week, so stay with us for a full interview about his historic silver medal and more. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and folks here in Vermont are still buzzing about the full circle medal wins in the men's cross-country sprint. We had a chance to speak with Landgrove's own Ben Ogden about becoming the first American man to win a cross-country medal since fellow Vermonter Bill Koch did it back in 1976. Ben Ogden, silver medal winner at the Olympics in the sprint for cross country. First of all, congratulations. I cannot imagine how this must feel, but I do want to start asking about the feels because there's the emotions in the immediate aftermath of the race when you realize what you've done and you've won. You've had a little time to process this now. How are you feeling now compared to that moment when you actually took home the silver?
First of all, thank you very much for having me and for the nice words. It's been a bit of a whirlwind the last few days, but yeah, I'm feeling really good, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish as a team and also individually here so far in at the games. But yeah, I'm working on trying to kind of wind down and get dialed in for the coming races, which is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I would imagine, you want a little downtime after winning the silver medal, but yep, you're right back at it. I want to talk about, and this has been mentioned now a bunch of times because the symmetry of what you have done here. 50 years since an American man captured a cross-country medal. And of course, the last one to do it was, like yourself, a Vermonter, Bill Koch. I know you have a strong relationship with Bill. Your entire family does. What does it mean to you that you become the first U.S. man to medal, as Bill did, also winning the silver as he did in Innsbruck, Austria, and then to have that connection and knowing he watched your race? What does it all mean to you?
That's been honestly the hardest part to process, and it means so much. I mean, like I said, I grew up skiing at Bill Koch's house, and he'd come to practice after elementary school and whatnot, and I got to see his medal and a lot of his other awards and his skis from back in the day that he raced on, and it's just always been something that's on my mind. But primarily, also the relationship with Bill just sort of has taught me and so many others that we're capable of it too. This is such a Scandinavian dominated sport, but Bill was a legend, and he taught us when we were young that if we put our head to it, we can accomplish whatever we want, just the same way that he did. And I'm really honored to get to be the one to take home the first for the men since him, but there will be more coming. I'm rather confident. So Bill's work is only just starting to pay off.
I love that confidence. You had family on hand too to watch this. Who's there watching you as you won the silver medal?
Yeah, I did. I had my mom was here, which was really cool. She doesn't get to see me ski race very often because I race so much in Europe, so that was awesome. And then yeah, a ton of other people from my hometown in Landgrove were here on course as well, and they were getting fired up. So it was pretty cool.
Ben, I was watching the race on YouTube, and I have to say, it was just so thrilling. And folks who have maybe not seen it yet, go check it out. I am curious about the race itself. Was there a moment where you knew that you were at least going to capture second? Because when I saw you go up that really steep part of the hill there, and I guess you went into what they call the Benny Shuffle, you kind of overtook the second place guy, and then you came out of that and you coasted down, and you're in second now. Were you thinking to yourself, I am not giving up this second place?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this course I've actually raced on quite a bit, and you'll remember the final straight in the into the finish is long and kind of slow, especially in these conditions. And I've been caught so many times there. The final double pole isn't really where my strength lies. My strength lies on the hill. So I did some work on the hill in that final, but I was not gonna let up until I was over the finish line, because so many times I've been double pulling down that straight and seeing the tips of somebody else coming to the side. And I just start going harder and harder, and sometimes there can be nothing you can do about it. But thankfully, in that final, I was well clear of second place. I didn't even quite realize. So, or third place, excuse me. And yeah, I was able to get over the finish line. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was quite amazing. And, the winner, Johannes Klebo, I noticed that, as he was coming towards the finish line, I guess he knew he had already had it won. He really slowed up a lot. You kept on charging. You did not give up, and you only finished a second behind him. Probably not, I'm guessing, is the answer to this. But did you have any thoughts that, hey, maybe I can actually catch this guy?
No, no, I really, to be honest, I was focused on staying in front of the people behind me. Johannes had won that race outright. He put on an absolute clinic on that last hill, and even if I had caught him when he was celebrating, I don't know. I don't think it would have felt like a true win. So I was just trying to secure that second place, and I'm so thrilled that I did.
Yeah, you sure did. I'm curious too about, this was, people may not realize this was your fourth race of the day. When you have, when you've got to do that many races before reaching the final, do you leave something back for any extra energy, thinking, okay, I'm going to make the final, I want to have a little extra kick for that, or is it all out every race, no matter what?
I mean, that is the challenge of it for sure. And I think that if it really depends on who you are. If your name is Johannes Klebo, then yes, you leave a good amount for the final because you're so confident you can move through the preliminary rounds with ease. But if you're me, that's not so much the case. Like I going into this Olympics, I vowed to myself I would not go down without a fight in this sprint. So I was not really leaving a whole lot in the tank, to be honest. The worst case scenario for me was to get pushed out of the rounds before the final and still felt like I had something. So I was pushing pretty hard in the quarterfinal and the semifinal and in the qualifying rounds as well. But I was lucky. I mean, everybody was pushing hard. It was a long course, hard conditions, and I think that the a lot of the field came into that final quite tired, and I just had a little more in the tank than some of those other guys. So all's well that ends well, but I was definitely not saving a whole lot.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that was the right strategy. Like I know.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, as you're
Well,
well aware by now, Ben, Vermont is really making a name for itself in these games. I mean, Ryan Cochran-Siegel takes home the silver in the Super G. Former UVM standout Paula Moltzen wins the bronze in the women's combined. Your fellow Vermonters now are bringing a lot of recognition to the Green Mountain State. How do you feel about being a part of that as well?
oh, good question. I'm so thrilled to be a part of it. And honestly, I mean, Ryan Cochran Siegel has been an inspiration of mine for many years now. He took home a medal in Beijing 4 years ago, and since then, we've gotten to know each other a little bit. I helped him do some sugaring and stuff at Cochran's a couple springs ago, and he's just a really fantastic guy and a true Vermonter and a role model. And same goes for Paula. She's just really been moving up. And we of course knew each other when we skied together at UVM, and it's just been a real pleasure to get to know those people, and they represent the state so well. So they're big inspirations of mine, and to have my name written down next to theirs at the beginning of this games, all three taking home a medal is just a dream come true. And I really can't wait to get home and see both of them and just congratulate them and yeah, catch up and reminisce. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, folks back in Landgrove, Vermont are going to be super happy about this. They already are. I was talking to Peggy Shen, the great Olympics reporter, and she relayed the story to me. I'm not sure if you'll recall this or not, but apparently some years ago they were asking where you're from, and you had mentioned that you grew up in Vermont or something, and then you said, but you were born, you said embarrassingly in New Hampshire, and that got changed into Ben Ogden is from embarrassing New Hampshire when they put it up on the TV. Do you remember that incident?
I remember, yeah. It was a time. It was 4 years ago at the Beijing Olympics. I was on a call like this, and I thought it was kind of like an interview, maybe live. So I was trying to be funny and clever, but it turns out it was just somebody trying to get information to put on the Team USA bio website. And yeah, they asked me where I was born. I said, "Oh, embarrassingly, New Hampshire." And then, like a couple days later, somebody sent me a screenshot of the Team USA graphic, and it said, "Yeah, embarrassingly New Hampshire," which it was pretty good. I couldn't have drawn it up any better than that.
Landgrove, folks, that's it. Population fewer than 200, but on the map. Listen, Ben, one more question here. We are having an epic winter here in Vermont, which I'm sure your friends and family back home have been telling you. The snow is waiting for you here. When are you getting back to Vermont?
That is a great question, and I honestly can't wait. And I hope the snow lasts. And I'm planning on being home. Let's see, March 13th. So coming up, but still a month. We have World Cup racing coming up after this games in Scandinavia, and then the World Cup finals for this year is in Lake Placid, New York. So for anybody interested in coming out, I'll be racing there. It's going to be a good time, and should be a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Well, you listen, relish in this now. You have made history. You are a silver medal winner, the first male cross-country skier to bring home a medal. Couldn't be more proud of you here in Vermont. And thank you, Ben, so very much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of Vermont Public, and I love all that you guys do. So I'll be listening in the summertime when I'm back home. So this is a real honor to get to come on.
Very nice of Ben Ogden to say, and just to correct myself a little bit there, he is the first American male to win a cross-country medal in that event since, of course, Bill Koch did it. And we have this update, too, because Ben raced yesterday, actually Sunday, in the men's relay, and he took the first anchor leg of that race. He had the U.S. men out to the lead. However, in the end, the U.S. men finished 6 out of the podium place, and that's the latest from Ben Ogden. I really appreciate the time that he gave us. Now, Vermont's Mac Forehand, we had a conversation with him before the games began, and Forehand will be competing in tomorrow's big air free skiing final after he placed first in the qualifying rounds last night with some amazing big air stuff. We'll be right back after this. Mac Forehand, thank you so much for joining us on the Sports Report. It's great to talk with you. I want to talk about free skiing, which is what you're doing here at the Olympics. And, it seems to me like the most fun you can have at the Olympics, different from like racing sports where you're being timed down to the last second. For somebody who's not familiar, though, with free skiing, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of in the name itself. And with free skiing, there's not a lot of rules. There is a set of rules, technically, but it's more just going down and you kind of get to create a run out of the features that you're given. So just doing tricks that you know how to do and having fun with it and doing different kinds of grabs. And yeah, everybody's run is pretty different. So it's just very unique and it's cool to have it in the Olympics. I think this is the 4th time we have it now in the Olympics. So it's a relatively new sport. But yeah, it's really fun. I love doing it.
And exciting. Your specialty, as I understand it, is called slope style. So how does that differ from like big air or, half pipe competition?
So slope style, I do 2 events. I'm in slope style and in big air. Slope style is a set of features on a course. So at the Olympics, it'll be 7 features. I think it's technically 6, but it's like 7 features in a run. And that's consisting of like rails that you grind and do tricks on, and then 3 jumps after the rail section. And you're scored out of, I think if it's a 6-section course, it's like 12 points on each feature. And then they score each feature out of 12. And then they have like an overall, like how they're it's called an overall impression score. So that score is then, like added to your section score kind of. So then, just like kind of how they liked your run and how much they thought it looked good and how much it flowed and whatnot. So it's definitely a judge sport, but we try to make it as like technical as possible and like it's not like bias isn't going into it.
Yeah, and all I know is it looks really cool, especially when it's done just right. How did you get into this sport?
So actually, I grew up I did ski racing for like a year and a half, and really didn't like it that much. I was kind of like always jumping off to the side and like doing all these jumps like down the run. So my mom put me into the freestyle program at Stratton. So I was a mogul skier for a good 5 or 6 years, and I loved it. And that's kind of where I thought I was going to go with like the whole skiing thing. I mean, who knows if I would have ever been professional in that, but I always skied park on the side for fun, like just with my friends after the program was over. We'd go ski park for like an hour and then go home. And I kind of like realized that I could go and compete and like be a competitor and that side of things too. And I just naturally worked that way. And I love to progress my skiing and learn new tricks. And with moguls, it kind of like stopped you from progressing at a certain point with like the trick aspect of things. So with free skiing, I could just like the ceiling is endless. I could just keep going with different trick progressions and stuff. And I don't know, I just loved it so much.
I mean, it sounds like you were made for this sport. It's so cool. You mentioned Stratton Mountain School. What kind of influence did that have on you? You know, some very famous skiers have been there. Jesse Diggins comes to mind and so many others. And what was the impact for you going there and training there?
Oh, I mean, it like made or break my ski career. I think without Stratton Mountain School, I would not be where I am today. I got to ski so much. I'm from Connecticut originally. I grew up in Fairfield. And then I was skiing on the weekends, but it really wasn't enough. And I knew I needed to like get more skiing done. And my parents looked around and they saw Stratton Mountain School was just down the street from our house. And I applied for that and I got in. And I mean, I got to ski it 7 days a week from usually doing 2 days a week and then sometimes missing like the occasional Friday to go up and ski in Vermont on the Fridays and then have Saturday and Sunday to ski. But then I went from skiing every single day, like Monday through Sunday. and I just got so much better. And it's a really good program there too. In the winter, you get to ski in the morning until noon, or until noon or 2, depending on the day, and then go home and then do school until 5 p.m. and then work out and go to bed. And you do that every single day. And it was a great program. I'm definitely blessed to be a part of that.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. You mentioned you were born in Connecticut, but you did live in Winhall, Vermont. Is that right? Growing up there?
Yep. I lived in Winhall, Vermont from the age of 14 until 18, and then I graduated.
And how did that support in Winhall help your ski career?
Oh, it was great. It's a very small, quiet town. Like not a lot going on there. You kind of hear like anything that would happen that was small. Like everybody would always talk about like random stuff because everybody knew what was happening there, which was kind of cool. And I grew up in a town of like 50,000 people, so it definitely like changed a lot, and I liked the small town environment a lot more.
And now it's an inextricable part of who you are as an athlete, as a person, it sounds like. Mac, I'm wondering about the biggest career accomplishment you've had to this point, obviously other than making the men's Olympic team.
I think for me, and I've gotten this question quite a bit, X Games is such an integral part of our sport. It was before the Olympics. Like I didn't grow up watching the Olympics. I grew up watching X Games. Like that was what I grew up loving and like wanting to compete in when I was younger. And I got my first invite when I was 17, and I actually broke my shoulder the day before I was supposed to go, so I couldn't go that year. And then when I was 18, I got an invite again, and then I tore my ACL in December of that year and couldn't go again. And then finally the next year, I didn't get an invite and was pretty upset. And then finally at the age of 20, I got to go, and I got second in big air, fourth in slopestyle. And since then, I've kind of just been on a roll. I just won the big air for the second time there last week. So I think at X Games gold was probably my biggest accomplishment. It means so much to me. It's like the center of action sports for us.
I'm glad you mentioned the X Games, Mac, because that's how I think most of us are familiar with freestyle skiing. And, this is the obvious name, but did you grow up watching Shaun White? Was he a guy that you emulated, or were there other heroes that you were that gave you inspiration?
I definitely grew up watching Shaun. He was a part of the X Games. I didn't just watch skiing. I watched the snowmobiling and the snowboarding as well, and then summer X Games as well with skateboarding and BMX and all that stuff was kind of like just a part of me. But yeah, I think, and for me, like the era of X Games that I watched was like Simon Dumont, Sammy Carlson, Bobby Brown, if those names are familiar. Like those guys are the ones that I looked up to. Like Sammy was like a huge inspiration for me growing up. I loved his skiing so much, and I know him a little bit now, like not too well, but I saw him last week at X Games, and super cool to connect with him again, and obviously Bobby as well. And so many of those guys I looked up to when I was younger.
So cool. I got to ask about your approach to some of these events. So are you looking to perform new tricks that have never been seen before? Are you looking to perfect moves that, are expected to be made? I'm just wondering if, somebody who's trying to get an edge and maybe get to that medal level is going to try to do something really wild that the judges have never seen before.
I think everyone kind of comes at it with a different strategy. Obviously, like I think ideally it's good to have a trick that hasn't been done before, because in our sport, wow factor is definitely a part of the equation when it comes to like getting a good score. So if you're saving something, usually it's good to pull it out in like a big moment. But for me, I'm just going to do what I know, and like I know what I can do, can score really well. So if I can do them perfectly, then I think I'll do really well in big air for sure.
I'm curious too about the moment you found out that you made the Olympic team. When did you find out? Can you walk us through that moment? How did it feel?
This year has been probably, and I've told people this before, it's been the most stressful season of my entire life, 100%. Like all I could, and people ask me like, oh, your Olympics, and it's always kind of like looming on you, but I hadn't made the team yet when people were asking these questions. So it's like, I'm not focused on going to the Olympics. Or doing well at the Olympics. I just want to get there and like be there right now, but I'm not on the team yet. And I had our first event in Stubai, Austria this year, our first Olympic qualifier, and I was skiing really good. First week there, feeling really good. We had like a training camp before our event, and I took a crash and I dislocated and broke my thumb, which it's just a thumb, but I had to go to Innsbruck and get x-rays, and they said that I had broken a metacarpal in my thumb and I needed to get surgery. So I booked a flight home. That was on a Friday. I booked a flight home on that Sunday, or to Vail. flew to Vail, got surgery on that Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I flew back to Europe, tied up my hand in a thumb brace, and then tried to ski and do the contest. And I've broken my thumb a bunch, but never this bad. And I had to get 3 screws, 2 pins put in. And it's honestly, I was lucky. Like, it could have been way worse, but it was just a thumb. Like, I'm blessed for sure that it was just a thumb. The event ended up getting canceled, so I still had another week to recover. And then I went to China for World Cup and ended up in 4th place. And my teammate Troy won the event, which I was so hyped for Troy. Like, it's huge for him, but for us, like, for qualifying, it's really tough when, like, your other teammates are, like, doing really well, and, like, even though you have to do well as well. So I was like, damn, like, I really need to lock in the next couple events. And Steamboat happened next 2 weeks later, and I didn't do well there. I didn't make the final, and I was, like, so distraught. Like, I was so stressed out going into the next events. We had a little bit of a break coming up, like, with Christmas and New Year's and stuff, and then we had the Aspen World Cup Olympic qualifier, and then after that, there was only one more in Switzerland, and then that was the team. And I had to pretty much, like, get second or better at these events to make the team, because I had a 4th place, which was holding up in the 4th spot, but, like, our team is so competitive and so good that, like, anybody else could go get that spot. And yeah, just ended up going to Aspen, and I skiing really well, and I won the event, which was huge for me, huge for my confidence. All the stress went away, like, finally. Just, like, it was building in my head the whole time, and finally, like, just it all went away, like, and it was such a good feeling. And I didn't have to go to the last World Cup of the Olympic season because I had qualified for the team there, and it was huge.
And to be clear, when you won that event and that got you over the top to make the Olympic team, you were doing that still technically on a broken thumb. You still had the broken thumb when you were competing in that.
So I got my pins out of my thumb right before Christmas on the 22nd of December, but I still have 3 screws in there. I have the scar.
Yep.
You can't really see it, it's hard, but it's, like, coming down right here.
Yeah, I can.
And I have a bone graft from my wrist right here. So it's definitely, like, recovering still. Like, I don't have much movement in here, but I'm working on it. I still ski with the thumb brace. But I've broken my thumb, I think, like 5 or 6 times without getting surgery. So it's like the classic skier injury, skier's thumb. Everyone does it, but I did it pretty bad. But yeah, no, it definitely had the thumb brace on still.
Well, you made it through. Congratulations. When is your first event happening at the Olympics? Do you know yet?
I think our qualifying for slopestyle is the 8th, and then our final will be, like, on the 10th or maybe the 9th. I think we have, like, a 2-day break, and then big air is towards the end of the game, so around the 16th or 17th of the month. And then, yeah, then we go home. But it's definitely coming up quick. I leave tomorrow, so I'm really excited to get on that plane and get over there.
Wow, we are excited for you, and also very glad that you took the time to speak with us. And anything you want to say to the folks back home in Vermont prior to your Olympic debut?
I mean, yeah, just Vermont, like, kind of made me the skier I am today, and I'm grateful for it, and I love that place, and I'll always kind of call that place home. I love it so much, and unfortunately, we don't have a house there anymore, but I see myself back there in the future at some point, and got to go say hi to the SMS folks and Jesse Malice over there, the head coach. Shout out to Jesse Malice. He's, like, the head coach of our SMS, and he's kind of brought me to where I am today. So he's killing it, and he's doing well over there. And yeah, really excited for the Olympics. It'll be a great time.
Well, Mac Forehand, freestyle skier for the U.S. men's Olympic team in 2026. Wish you the very best of luck. A lot of folks here rooting for you. And thank you once again for taking the time to speak with us on the Sports Report. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you guys again. I appreciate it.
Now, again, we spoke with Mac Forehand before he was leaving for Italy. And, of course, it was just last night that those qualifiers happened, and he really pulled it off, finishing in first place overall, which puts him into the final. He did a switch left triple cork with a left nose butter triple cork. I could pretend to know what that means. All I know is I saw it on television. It's amazing. He's in a great position now to win a medal in tomorrow's big air free ski final. Of course, we'll update you on all of this on the Sports Report. Just ahead, we're going to talk about some other Olympic sports, including men's and women's hockey that are moving towards the championship rounds. This is a great time for those of you watching live on YouTube. Get in the chat. Tell us what you want us to be talking about, whether it's Vermont sports or other Olympic sports. Get in the chat live on YouTube, and we'll see you in just a moment on the Sports Report. Welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb here with Nathaniel Wilson, our producer. Hey, Nathaniel.
Hey, Mitch. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to let folks know first, if we can get a shot of the medals here in front of the desk. Guys in the control, can we do that here? We've got
Dave's
four.
got us.
These are real Olympic medals. They're not. But they do represent the 2 silvers and the 2 bronzes that have been won by Vermonters so far. We are all in on this Olympic stuff. It's been fun. Have you been enjoying this?
I have. The thing that I think is funny, Mitch, I was just thinking about this before we got back. You and I, we know the morning schedule so well from you being on Morning Edition for 2 decades. Before I was in this role, I was the Morning Edition producer until very, very recently. And I was thinking, with the Olympics being 6 hours ahead of us, I kind of wish I was on that morning schedule. It'd be a lot easier to know what was going on at 5 a.m. if I was awake.
The one time that I'm sort of sad the alarm's not going off at 3:45. You're absolutely right. Of course, the Vermonters have been doing incredible, and we're so grateful to be able to talk to some of them. You heard on today's show, but there are so many other sports going on as well. And, it can be hard to follow them sometimes, but Nathaniel, I'm a huge hockey fan, and I am starting to get super excited about the Olympics for both the men's and women's teams. Now, the women are further along. We have an update for you that just today, the U.S. women continue to crush it. They absolutely destroyed Sweden 5-0. Now, Sweden had been undefeated going into that game. The U.S., of course, undefeated. We're looking here at what looks like an inevitable showdown between the U.S. and Canada. The U.S. has already beaten Canada once in the qualifying rounds. I think it was 2-0 the final, or maybe I'm getting that wrong. But right now, the U.S. women look almost unstoppable. I will say the one factor that could make a difference here is the Canadian team got their captain back. Marie Poulin was hit by a really hard check in center ice in the game against Czechia. She was knocked out. She's made it back, though, from injury. Maybe that'll make a difference for the Canadian team, but right now the U.S. women are looking unstoppable.
And Poulin plays on the Victoire, which is the PWHL Montreal team, and so not too far away from Vermont herself there when she's playing pro.
Absolutely right. And checking in on the men, again, it's looking like an inevitable U.S.-Canada showdown. Now, here's the thing. If you are not a hockey fan, if you haven't watched a lot of NHL, I really urge you to watch these Olympic Games because the Canadian team especially, some of the players on that team, and I do wish that the rinks were Olympic size, not a little bit smaller like they are, because then you could see Connor McDavid, for example, who plays for the Edmonton Oilers, and just how astonishing this guy is. When he gets the puck, sometimes I'm watching him, it's almost like a cartoon thing because he gets the puck and then it's like there's a jump start where he's 2-3 strides ahead of the next player in front of him. And you don't see it happen. It's not like you can see it happen. It's just all of a sudden he's there. You would think that the frame jumped ahead. He's that good. Nathan McKinnon is a spectacular skilled player to watch. Plays for the Colorado Avalanche. His teammate, Cale Makar, a defenseman, is as skilled as any offensive player on the ice. Another guy to watch. And Macklin Celebrini, another name I want to throw out there. He's a rookie who plays for the San Jose Sharks. So a lot of folks on the East Coast don't get to see him much. Astonishingly good player. I got to say, the Canadian team might look like the team to beat, but the USA is going to have something to say about that.
The thing is, if the Olympic medal tally so far gives us anything to go off, then I think the U.S. is going to wrap it up, right? Canada's not doing so hot in these Olympics so far.
Oh, don't say that. So are you saying that's because they only have 1 gold medal so far?
They do. They only have 1 gold so far.
And how are the U.S. doing as far as golds?
The U.S.
overall?
have, I think, 5 gold medals and 17 overall.
Okay. All right. Well, the way I look at it is, and those of you who may be watching up in Montreal, get in on the chat. Let us know if I'm wrong about this. I feel like if the U.S. men's hockey team can win gold, and maybe the women as well, that would be okay with Canada if that's the only other gold they get, because they care so much about their sport. This is a big deal to them. The U.S. has not won a gold medal in hockey since, of course, the Miracle on Ice in Lake Placid in 1980. So heck of a drought for the American team. They've got a lot to play for, too.
And I'm seeing in the chat, not so related to Olympic hockey, but we got a message in the chat from a Kate Koch. I'm not sure if there's any relation to Bill, but she said, "This is awesome. Thanks, Mitch. Way to go, Ben and Mac." And so, if you're in the chat and you're watching us right now, we'd love to know what events you guys are following on to and watching.
And we would love to give some shout outs to all those wonderful folks with connections to Vermont who are really doing so well this year at the Olympics. There's been a little little controversy around curling. Have you seen any of this? What is going on there?
I've seen very little, but you guys were rehashing a little bit of the drama during our production meeting this morning, and I think I need to go on YouTube and see what the drama is going on with the Canadian curling team, and I think the UK, one of the UK teams as well.
I didn't know much about double touching in curling, but apparently that's where some of this controversy is coming from. And look, we can joke a little bit about curling. It's kind of like shuffleboard on ice, is I guess how I would describe it. But the sport is taking extremely seriously, especially in Canada.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot of controversy on that. There's been some chirping going back and forth between some of these teams here. The Canadian men's team, it's not been pretty. So folks are taking it pretty seriously.
Yeah, it's been interesting, like the replay shots and trying to figure out, because they hold the handle on the curling stone and then they kind of spin it off and let it go, but it's like the second touch is what the drama is revolving around, and so hard to see on the cameras.
And apparently you're not allowed to do that.
No,
whatever it is.
That makes sense.
So I can't wait to see who comes out ahead in curling. It's another great sport to watch. So we've got hockey, curling, of course, all the alpine events. There is just so much going on. There was bobsledding. The American men's team had a really rough start in one of those heats where they were getting started in the bobsled, and I think 3 of the men fell out, and one guy had to go down the rest of the way all by himself. Credit to him, he did it. He made it happen, but that
Probably
looked pretty
not
scary.
going as fast.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
No, you need that extra people in there.
During these Olympics, I've been tuned into a couple different sports that we haven't mentioned so far. I've been with the girlfriend locked in on the figure skating. We have been watching. Yes, I learned very recently who the quad god is. You know about Ilya Manin, the quad god? Yeah, he was awesome in the team competition. It didn't go so hot in the individual, but it's still just been amazing to watch these Americans. There's the other pair, Danny O'Shea, and I am blanking on her name, but I will get it pulled up here in a sec.
Maybe
but
someone in the chat can let us know about that.
Yeah, the American pair that they did the team and did the individual yesterday we were watching. I've also been tuned into the ski jump and the free ski big air.
Amazing.
I'm into watching these guys fly and these women fly. There was it's the first Olympics for the women ski jumpers that we have the big hill, which is like an even bigger jump than they've done historically. And it's just, I think it's so cool to watch. They're in the air for so long, but they're really not that far off the ground.
Right.
And they truly are just flying. You see we have these amazing drone shots that have been used in the Olympics thus far. I'm not really a fan of the buzzing sound that the drones are making that's getting picked up by the microphones, but the views have been amazing. And it's crazy when you watch the aerial shots from behind as these ski jumpers are going down. You see them making a little adjustments, whether it's their legs or their arms, their skis, and it looks like a bird. It looks like a flying squirrel, the way you can see them just making these little micro adjustments that I'm sure has a big outcome in terms of how they are doing and how far they are getting. And so I've really enjoyed watching all these athletes in the air.
It's a fascinating sport. And, when we were talking to Mac Forehand about that, he was saying how it struck me that he was saying he felt fortunate to have only broken his thumb. Because I guess, if you are going to be doing these tricks, yes, that's going to impede you, but it's not like a broken leg or a torn ligament or what have you. But I'm always astonished by when they're in the air for that long and they're doing these intricate tricks and they're flipping around. It almost looks like they're on autopilot. Yeah. But do you ever wonder, are they thinking about the move? Are they thinking about, okay, now I have to grab, the back end of the ski and turn around and make this happen? And it's all happening in just a few seconds, and there's no margin for error. And that's the way I felt about Ilya too. I felt bad for him because so much was expected of him, and I did see him in the team skate, which he was phenomenal, phenomenal,
really amazing.
But then to go out, and to individually to have those stumbles where he fell, I think he's been coming out about it now on social media, saying, I'm dealing with some mental stuff here. It's got to be really hard for these folks.
Just 21 years old. Yeah. I think it's his first Olympics. Ellie Kam was that other U.S. Figure skater who's on the team with Danny O'Shea. Yeah. The figure skating is so cool. It's like I've never to be honest, the Winter Olympics are not really my bag historically. I find myself like a lot more intrigued by the sports and by the stories that happen in the summer. But just with working on the show and following all the Vermonters and being a Vermonter now, there's so much pride around the Winter Olympics. And so it really makes it a lot of fun. And yeah, we're racking up the medals over here in Vermont. And hopefully Mac gets us another one, hopefully a gold colored one tomorrow.
I'm not, after what I saw him do in that qualifier, I would not put it out of the realm of possibility at all. I'll say quickly, one of the things I find a little frustrating about the figure skating is that it's a judged competition. So if there isn't something obvious where somebody falls or what have you, I'm always wondering, because they all look amazing to me. Like, how do you decide who is that much technically better than the next, you know? But that's what they're paid to do.
We've been enjoying, they have like the NBC streams on Peacock that have the commentary, and then they have what's called the World Feed, which is like a commentary-free version. And we've been watching the figure skating on there, and so like it's funny because you'll be watching and they stay pretty quiet during the non-US figure skaters, and then the US athletes come through and they're like, the judges are trying to sweep us all up with the emotion, and it's beautiful and it works. But I've really enjoyed just my lack of knowledge in the sport and getting to just watch these athletes do what they do. I've thought has been really cool.
Yeah, we're learning along with everyone else, and it's been a ton of fun. There's still a lot left to go. All right, thanks for talking to me through the Olympics there, Nathaniel. And if you came late to the party last season for the Vermont Green FC...
Yes, next segment, actually. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh,
yes.
yeah. We're going to be talking with the co-founder, Patrick Infurna, in just a moment here, and a new lottery ticket system is going to be in effect. So join us for that information coming up next here on the Sports Report. Welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and if you came late to the party last season as the bandwagon grew and grew for the Vermont Green Football Club, you are clearly not alone. The team's success was evident with packed crowds for every home game at Virtue Field, and that was well before the Green won the USL League Two championship in August. With so many folks wanting to attend the semi-pro soccer club's games in person, and with fewer than 3,000 seats available at Virtue Field, the team has a new plan this upcoming season to help even the playing field for tickets. And here to tell us more about it is Vermont Green FC co-founder Patrick Infurna. Patrick, thank you for joining us on the Sports Report.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And by the way, congratulations on this show. It's been really awesome to watch the first few episodes. I've been really enjoying it. I think this is an awesome addition to the programming. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh man, greatly appreciated. Yeah, we're getting our sea legs here, but we are having so much fun and so glad to talk to you. First of all, congratulations. Let's not forget, it was just last season that Vermont Green FC went out and won the National USL 2 Championship. Incredible. It must feel great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was 2025 was really a magic season for us. I mean, going unbeaten all the way to the national final, hosting all those playoff games, hosting the championship, and being able to win it. We're still kind of riding that high a little bit, but it was a fantastic year, and we're looking forward to building on that in 2026.
Now, one of the big things last year, of course, was I think at least 2 women's exhibition games that were played. I know there was at least one. And, of course, sold out in seconds. Folks were so excited to see the women's team play. The good news is there's going to be a new division this year of women playing in the league, and Vermont Green has its own team. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we're so excited. After 2 summers, 2024, we had 1 exhibition game. Last year we had 2. We're now going to be entering USL W League, which is another similar pre-professional league, similar to USL 2. Yeah, we're so excited. I mean, the growth of this game in Vermont has been astounding, and we always knew that this was, it wasn't limited to the men's game, and we didn't want to be limited to the men's game. We wanted to, when we say Vermont is a soccer state, we mean that, in a holistic way. So being able to compete in USLW League, hopefully coming out of the gate with a strong team and strong performance, it's going to be really fun. Yeah, we needed 5 teams to get the Northeast Division launched. We did get that as of maybe about a month ago. So yeah, now we're just kind of full steam ahead, looking forward to May and starting to compete.
Patrick, I love that the team is thinking so much about the fans. And again, about maybe 2,600 seats available at Virtue Field. A lot of folks got, locked out last year. They wanted to come see the games. There just wasn't the room. So to deal with that, you have a lottery ticket system this year for certain games. So tell us which games and how is this all going to work?
Yeah. So, first of all, it's like we said, it's been incredible and we're so grateful for the growth that we've seen from this club in just our first 4 seasons. When we started this club, we knew that this would be something that could work, but I think even now we're still this has surpassed some of our wildest dreams as far as the enthusiasm and just like the passion for the game that Vermonters have. And so now we're kind of in this somewhat difficult moment where we've got a lot of interest, but we just don't have the capacity to kind of meet that interest. And that's a whole other conversation of, ways we're hopefully trying to remedy that, get more seats, or even looking down the line in the future of our own facility. But for the time being, we've really just kind of had to, like one thing I keep saying to people is, before last year's playoffs, when we had 2,500 people at a game, it was kind of like, everyone's here. But now 2,500 is like, these are the lucky few that were able to get to some of these big matches. So we kind of, we've heard a lot of feedback about the system for buying tickets, especially in the playoffs. It was painful. People were trying to buy tickets and it would sell out in 1 second. I guess just, it's tough. And we really, we empathize with people who were kind of bummed by that. And we're bummed by that. Like, we want everyone to be at these games. So, in the short term, one of our solutions has been, we're doing things through a ticket lottery just to make it more equitable, make it, not have it rely on maybe whatever people's internet connection, where you are, and, giving people more of a time to enter the lottery and then have it be selected randomly. So the first game that we are doing with the lottery is actually just closed yesterday, was the U.S. Open Cup game. We're in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. We'll play professional team Portland Hearts of Pine on March 17th. So that went to a ticket lottery. We had, I'll tell you straight up, the number of tickets requested was over 10,000. So we've had an interest of 10,000 tickets. I mean, it's not 10,000 individual users. It's probably closer to 3,000-4,000 individual users, but we let people request up to 4 tickets. People seem to be pretty honest. Not everyone just asked for 4, hoping to figure it out. So we had, the request for total tickets is over 10,000. That's not counting the season ticket holders who get that match as part of their season ticket package. So that went to lottery. The drawing for that will be happening soon. And today we opened the women's season ticket lottery. Season tickets is another thing that, they've been in high demand for the men's. They're in high demand for the women. That number is already, even in the last few hours since we launched it, there's already more requests than there are tickets. So so that's just kind of where we're at. We're trying to use this lottery system to make it a bit more equitable until we can find a situation where we can just get more seats, because that's the real solution. We didn't start this club to have it be like an exclusive thing. We wanted it to be something that was accessible, and we want everyone to be able to come out that wants to come out. So working on those solutions all the time, but in the meantime, we've got our lotteries.
Hey, Patrick, it's Nathaniel. I know you guys have the lottery going on for the U.S. Open Cup game, which is next month, and then the women's season tickets as well, and then you guys are going to have the single tickets for the men's games. Are you planning on having a lottery for those single men's game tickets as well?
No, the lottery won't be for the single match tickets. Those will go on sale on March 14th, and those will just be open. I think, we think with the number of games between the two teams, we don't think those are going to sell out instantly. We think, there'll be a little bit more time for people to plan and kind of, look ahead at that date and buy them, with some without having to kind of scramble. But yeah, so for now it's just the Open Cup game because it's a single match, and then the women's season tickets because those are just a bit more high demand. Yeah.
Patrick, the success of the team last year, we've talked about it. You win the national championship. Fantastic. Expectations, I'm sure, are high this year as well. Let's start with the men's team briefly because, some players are not going to be there. Folks, remember, I'm thinking mostly about Max Kissel, who was so incredible for Vermont Green FC and for UVM, helped them win a national championship 2 years ago. He's now playing Major League Soccer with Inter Miami. So, is it a matter of other guys coming in to step up? And how do you replace a guy like that?
Yeah, so we had, obviously that was a very special group of players, and it was a quite older group of players as well, like players in their senior years of college or their final kind of seasons of eligibility. So a lot of them moved on to professional careers or whatever lies beyond. So it'll be we'll have some really great returners. I think one that the news had already broken a while back was Nicholas Herzig, our keeper, UVM's keeper. He will be back. And we'll have a lot more player announcements coming soon, a few guys returning, but I think fans will be excited to see there's a lot of new talent coming in. And, it's as you can imagine, winning a national championship, playing in front of crowds like we have, and, the way that Vermonters have embraced this team, that's an attractive place for top players to want to play. So, our sporting director, Adam Pfeiffer, has done a really good job, starting getting the ball rolling and starting to bring in some players, and we're excited to see, excited to announce some of these guys and let our fans kind of enjoy that this summer.
Well, Patrick Infurna, thank you so much for the time and being on the Sports Report. Really appreciate it. And thank you for tuning into the Sports Report today. If you missed any of today's show, you can find it on our YouTube channel. You can also catch the show on Vermont Public Radio Monday nights at 8, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts. Find out more about the show and how to get in touch with us at vermontpublic.org/sports. The Sports Report is a production of Vermont Public, produced by Nathaniel Wilson. Technical director is Mike Dunn, with Kyle Ambusk on graphics, David Littlefield on cameras, and video production assistance from Dave Rice, Brian Stevenson, and Joey Palumbo. Our audio engineer is Peter Engish. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, your host for this program that is all about the world of sports in Vermont and beyond. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week.